not everybody fits into a gender assigned box, and not everybody belongs in the box assigned to them at birth. Holy crap, that's why I never really liked myself most of my life, because I was trying to force myself into a box I didn't belong. Hello, and thank you for joining me. It's Brandi's World. In this episode, titled Finale. I think there's a bunch more after this, like, 'cause I checked. I mean, there's like a whole other season, but okay. Finale. I lost 9 years of my life. Colon. A mass medical experiment breeding chaos, infertility, and regret. Ooh, sounds like a lot going on in this episode. So it looks like we're going to be listening to an interview that the podcast does with a person named Laura Beth Perry Smaltz. Is a Christian who now openly shares her journey of gender confusion. Quote, I just thought I was a man born in a woman's body, and I just needed to fix my body. Let's see what they have to share with us today.
I feel like I lost 9 years of my life. And then there was all the regret, too, of just the things that I've done to my body. The fact that I didn't have breasts anymore, and I ended up getting married, and my husband didn't know if I'd ever have breasts again. I was able to get breast surgery about 3 months ago and get implants, but...
Wow, very fortunate. You were able to have the medical services to your body, both when you felt at that time you needed to have those medical services. That's pretty cool. Not everyone in America has that kind of access to medical treatments. All right, starting off pretty good.
Laura Beth Perry Smaltz is just one of thousands who became enveloped in the transgender craze.
Okay, it kind of makes me laugh every time that the host, Brandon Showalter, I think his name is, every time Brandon says the caught up in the transgender craze or phenomenon or something like that. Like, whoa, people existing as a craze. Here's a craze, I exist and I express myself. So she got caught up in people who are identifying themselves and expressing their self, their inner self to society. And it does not align with the label given to them at birth, assigned to them at birth, placed on them at birth, right? So they're saying, hey, my identity, when I check inside with myself, it doesn't match the assigned gender identity at birth, so I'm expressing mine. Brandon sees that as, I guess, tomfoolery, like those people expressing who they are is silly or bad or craze or whatever he thinks that means. So just a little side note, it used to make me very upset the first few times I heard him say things like that, but now it's just okay. Let's hear what else they have to say.
She spent 9 years presenting as a man after undergoing life-changing surgeries, removal of her reproductive system, and taking drugs, all in a quest to make her feel more like a man. But after all the chaos and pain, she came face to face with the lies she had been sold, and she detransitioned. Now she's speaking out and sharing her story. For Laura Beth, the feelings of strong incongruence with her biological sex started early.
I don't quite understand the term detransition, because what does that really mean? If you transition, you're transitioning from one position to another position, right? So for me, I find myself sitting in the position of box B in our society, right? So we have two boxes in our society when it comes to gender identity. We have a binary, so we use box A or box B. And this person, Laura, they were like, okay, they were assigned one of the boxes at birth, and then at some point in their life, they're like, yo, I don't think I fit in that box. I'm going to express all of the attributes from this other box, or at least I'm going to try. And I think that's how I identify. I think when I look in myself, I think that's what I'm going to express, or something like that. I'm not sure, but for whatever reason, I'm going to call her she because she calls herself she, and Laura, that is fine with me. Yay, you're using the labels you feel comfortable using. Awesome for you, Laura. So when Laura, for 9 years in their life, was expressing the other attributes of the other binary gender box, right? And for whatever reason in their life, after 9 years or whatever point in that, they're like, I feel that I need to express that other box in our society. And for whatever catalyst, whatever triggered them to do that, they did that. And good for them. If they believe that they're looking in and finding their truth self, and this is how they express it, and it just happens to align back with the original assignment they had, you're still transitioning. If you are transitioning your gender expression and your gender performance from box B to box A, and then later you take all of those attributes and you go, when I express myself, it's not going to fit inside this box. So I transition all of my attributes, my expression, and my performance to this other box. So see, they did a double transition, regardless of the label that was placed on them at birth, right? For me, as an example, I look inside myself and see that inner me, that inner Brandi, there's Brandi when I close my eyes and visualize the person. And then when I express that, I want that to align. I want to pull that person out and express it and show all of you, show society, show myself, show the mirror I see in society and the mirror I see on the wall. I want those to be as close as I can get to how I see my inner self. So that is me expressing. And I happen to fit nicely into our society's gender box B, where all of those attributes that we attribute to that gender label in the gender box of expressions and attributes, they fit nicely in there. I'm cool with that. That's cool. I like that. Great. That's how I see myself too. But there are many, many people in our society who don't fit into either one of those boxes. Or sometimes when they look inside themselves, that inner person might be a fluid person. For me, my inner person doesn't feel very fluid. That's why for most of my life, when I was expressing that box A, I wasn't really trying to look in and tap that inner person, express it. I was trying to pull those attributes that we put into that box and push them onto me and try to absorb them into me and make them me. And it didn't quite work. It never really worked for me. I tried and I tried. I didn't know that I was not looking at my gender identity. I didn't know to look inside for my gender identity for most of my life. I assumed my gender identity was just supposed to be dictated to me by my genitals and by my sexual orientation, by that label that was placed on me when I was born. I didn't know to look inside myself until I did. And when I did, I was like, holy crap, that's why I never really liked myself most of my life, because I was trying to force myself into a box I didn't belong. And when I look and question who I am from within and start to express that, oh my goodness, the expressions felt so good. It feels so amazing to be able to express how I am on the inside and to be able to fit nicely into a societal box where I'm like cool in that box. I feel wonderful like that. And I'm hoping that all of you find that wonder if you abide by this binary box system, or if you like to abide by a spectrum, which I think we should all do because everyone fits on a spectrum, wherever you lie on a spectrum of gender identity is where you should place your home. Wherever you flow on that spectrum, you could be fluid and flow across it. And that might just be you. Not everybody fits into a gender assigned box, and not everybody belongs in the box assigned to them at birth. And if you find yourself transitioning to the other box and that makes you gloriously happy and you feel like you really tapped into your inner self and you're expressing that, that is awesome. And if you feel that you express that and you mistaken, you for whatever reason that was not the move for you, and transitioning over to the other box, whether you've been there before or not, is okay and is awesome for you. I just hope that you find your inner self and express that to not just society. You don't have to express your inner self to society. Express it to yourself. Perform it to yourself. Be yourself, inside and out. And that's my message. Well, I digress. So let's listen to what else they have to tell us.
When I was about 5 years old, I began to notice that my mom and I didn't have a real good relationship. She was very close to my older brother, and I was very jealous of that relationship, and I felt rejected by her. And a lot of this was just my perception. She loved me in her own way, but she didn't spend a lot of time with me like my dad did. My dad was very much, like, his love language was quality time. I began to feel rejected, and I was jealous of the closer relationships she had with my brother. I remember thinking as a little kid that Mom wished I had been a boy instead.
Aww. Laura Beth spent very little time with her sister and
Oh, that's sad. Oh, Laura. Oh.
found that, in school, he didn't jive well with the girls. As time progressed, she compared herself to them and couldn't relate. Then she experienced a life-altering trauma.
I was so broken myself that I was getting dumped and rejected over and over and over again, and just felt like I had no worth or value as a female. And I remember being very jealous, and then I felt like they held all the power in the relationship because I was just used like trash and thrown away. And so I began to, and of course I didn't realize this at the time, but I looked back on my life and how much I'd wanted to be a boy as a kid, and I thought, this makes sense. The reason this never worked is because I was supposed to be the man. If I was the man, then I know how to treat a girl, and so I began to research it on the internet just to see if anybody felt like I did, and I was shocked when thousands of results came up, and there were all these people that had transitioned. And I thought immediately, this was my answer.
Tragically,
Yeah, that doesn't sound not typical. That sounds pretty typical for people going, I feel a certain way inside. I look around society. It's not flowing with who I feel I am on the inside, and let me search out and see if anyone else feels the way I'm feeling. And yeah, you can find people who feel the same way you do. Or it's a human experience. We're humans. Being gender diverse from the label assigned to you is human. It's going to happen across all the cultures, all the people. As long as you try to create boundaries for gender into binary sections, right? If you have just a binary concept of gender, of how you use it in just only binary, right? Not everyone's going to fit into that binary. They're not. You can place that in any culture, across any time, any place. And all you have to do is ask the people to look inside themselves and how do they feel about their gender identity? How do they see their gender identity? Because gender identity comes from only one source. It comes from within the self. It's an innate within you, similar to your handedness. It's within you, right? It could be assigned to you, but it can only be true from within you, right? You're the only person who can express which handedness you are. And could someone change that from the outside for you? Could they say, yo, you are now assigned right-handed, and you're like, yo, I'm left-handed. Nope, now you're right-handed. You must be right-handed. You could probably go through the motions. You could probably do most of it. You can teach yourself how to be pretty good with that hand. But when you look inside yourself and you ask yourself, which handedness are you? It's innate within you. You don't choose that. You don't control that. You either express it or pretend it doesn't exist. Let's get back to what they have to tell us. Here we go.
Laura Beth's disconnection only worsened. She became promiscuous, looking for love in all the wrong places, and the chaos of that relation.
That's a song. Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Turmoil had a dangerous impact on her heart and mind, and it led her to a place of profound brokenness. So when you started stepping into that world, even as you didn't know what the word transgender meant or that this was even a possibility.
You know what, y'all? This is episode 7 of season 1, and they're actually calling it the finale for some reason, but there's another season, at least one more season. But at any rate, this first time, I just realized this is the first time they're actually interviewing a person who has actually experienced gender dysphoria, knows kind of what it's like to be transgender. I mean, they do. They've experienced this. They spent 9 years living in the box they feel that they are not today or were not assigned. So yeah, that's unique. That's interesting. Not the story that all transgender people say, or even most transgender people have. In fact, very, very, very few people detransition, I guess, as they say, or transition back to the other box. It is so rare. So like when they find one of these people that do, and they want to propaganda or propagate these ideas and stories that they already have predetermined, like trans people are bad and it's bad for trans people to exist, and trans children shouldn't grow up to be trans people, and we'll pretend that they're not really trans kids and only adults become trans somehow, or choose to be trans somehow, or I don't know, whatever their thought process is. So you can find on a spectrum of humans, you're going to find a small percentage. It's for whatever reasons, the gender affirming care was not for them, and transitioning over to a box they weren't living in for 9 years was the right move for them, apparently. Okay. I'm cool with all that, right? I just don't want people to say it's bad for everyone because a person had a bad experience, or a person didn't have the experience they expected or wanted to have. You know what? If you had a bowl of ice cream and it was really good, and then halfway through you found 4 toenails inside that bowl of ice cream, suddenly it's not that great, right? Do you then recommend that no one should ever get ice cream because you may get toenails in it, like this person had? And I have a good example of someone getting toenails in their ice cream. Should we not have ice cream anymore because it could be a toenail in your ice cream? Should you not have a different type of treatment medically because it may not take or work for 100% of the people? Because you're going to go down this game, right? They're going to say, this medically didn't work for patient X. Ignore the 99% of the patients that it did work for. We're going to focus on this patient it didn't work for. Okay, it's an interesting story, but it's not in any manner the way we should look at health policies, especially for people. We shouldn't even do that for our pets. If you had a bad experience at a vet, you shouldn't just say, yo, no one should go to this vet because of a bad experience I had, and your dogs have to suffer, right? No. People shouldn't suffer because one person had an experience that wasn't typical to all other people.
Laura, can you tell us what it was like in the clinical settings, the psychiatrist's office, the doctor visits, when you were able to get out from under your parents' roof and started to explore these medical options for yourself?
I didn't even know what to do, but I found a support group in my local town, and within 5 minutes, they're like, "Oh, you're definitely transgender, and here's the path that you need to go on." And
Whoa! Whoa! Did they really tell them? Oh my goodness! Oh my good. Well, that's not a great start to any journey you're going on. Well, we know exactly what you're going through, and here's exactly what you need to do, because these journeys are personal. They're very subjective. One person's transgender experience is not to be molded onto all other transgender people's journeys and experiences. They're all going to be unique. They're all going to be individual. That's not good advice. My goodness. Whew. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not giving too much advice like that. I hope that was not good. All right. What else happened? My goodness.
worried I would never look like a man, but they said, "Oh, don't worry about it. After a year or so of taking hormones, no one will ever know you were a girl." Somebody that experienced so much.
All right. Hormones are a hell of a drug. And if you are an individual, I don't care what gender you are assigned, you start taking a bunch of hormones, it's going to change your body. Hormones will change. Testosterone, that androgen-driven hormones that trans men take, it does a hell of a job of doing some transformations on some bodies. It changes voices. It produces hair growth. It is quite remarkable what they can achieve through that treatment. Yeah. So definitely that could be the case. You set out to, your goal is to present very masculinely in our society's thinking what masculine is, and features are masculine. Yeah, get on some tea. Some tea will do that for you.
And being a woman and feeling so rejected, like I had no worth or value as a woman, that was like my ticket to paradise. That was everything I'd ever wanted to hear.
The then 25-year-old woman embarked on an immediate journey to try and live her life as a man, believing fully that this was the answer for which she had so long searched.
So I was just so excited. I thought this was the answer to all my problems in my life. And so they said, well, the first thing you need to go do is go to a psychiatrist and diagnose with gender identity disorder, and then they will help you get the hormones to start transitioning.
Yes, y'all. That's excellent advice. I agree. The first thing you should do when you are like, I'm looking inside and my gender identity is not aligning with this assignment, I need to talk with a therapist. Do that. That's the very first thing I did. I was like, when I had that epiphany of, hey, I don't belong in this box, this assignment, it's not for me, I need to express myself. I went to a therapist and said, this is what's going on with me. I'm not sure what's happening, but I do not feel like I belong in this box. I don't know where I'm going to land. I haven't really explored my inner self enough to pull out totally me. I'm going to learn totally me when I start to pull that out. I'm going to learn that. I'm going to explore that. And it helps to have some professional guidance when you're going through changes, any major changes in your life or any aspect of your life. Therapy's good, y'all. So good advice. Very good.
I did. There was one in town that was known for helping trans people. And I really had no interest in counseling. I didn't think any of my problems in my past were related to this at all. I just thought I was a man born in a woman's body, and I just needed to fix the body.
She ended up meeting a psychiatrist and immediately started testosterone, beginning her path with what she mistakenly believed would be her healing. What followed was an endless quest to find affirmation as a man, But eventually that facade crumbled.
Why all of a sudden her quest was a facade? Did it feel like a facade to them at the moment? I don't know. That's kind of sad. Brandon, you're the one calling it a facade. Laura there seemed very sincere. They're like, yo, I really felt like I was wrapped in this body, or in other words, my inner identity was not aligning with my expression, is what they're saying, right? The body is the expression. I'm expressing with my body, and the way I drape my body, and the way I hold my body. This my expression. Yeah, and so they were being sincere, and apparently that was not sincere enough for Brandon.
In presenting this way, Laura Beth said things began to change, particularly when it came from her strained relationship with her mother.
And what's interesting about mine and my mom's story is that the Lord first changed her. And I saw this change in my mother, and I saw peace in her and faith for the first time in my entire life. And I wanted what she had.
And then something totally unexpected happened. Laura Beth said she, too, found Jesus. Still living as a transgender-identified woman, she had no intentions of detransitioning. But God had other plans.
My whole life became about Jesus. He began to really change me, but I was going to be a man of God. The Lord began to draw me out of it, just slowly to don't.
I was like being so proud of him, man of God. To me, that sounded like they're tapping into the inner self, and they see that man, and they're like, well, yeah, this is my new philosophy. This is my religion. This is what I see as my deity. I'm going to fall under submission to that and be the best religious person I could be. I don't see where they have to express differently than they see themselves. So maybe at some point they're going to tell us when they looked inside themselves for most of their lives, it wasn't. Maybe they were looking on the outside and not looking on the inside, because that's what I was doing. If they were truly looking on the inside, were they mistaken? I'm confused. I don't know. We'll find out.
The truth is what he wanted for me. I didn't want to detransition myself because there was so much pain when I thought about being a woman. It was just more than I could bear, and I knew it was wrong. I knew it wasn't who I truly was, but there was no way I could go back to being a woman.
Laura Beth found herself grappling with.
She knew who it truly was. Because still at this point, so she's saying at this point that she's, as the Christians would say, she's taken Jesus into her heart. She's laid down at the footstep of her deity and said, I want to serve you, right? And why would you have to do anything with your gender at that point? Couldn't you worship your deity regardless of the gender you are? All gender, any point on a spectrum of gender, shouldn't that be cool? Let's find out.
Reality of who she was made to be. Believing the changes she made to her body were permanent, she didn't think she could go back. But with trust and determination, she did. Today, she is sharing her story in an effort to help others struggling in the same way that she did. As she reflects on all that unfolded, she is stunned at how medical professionals never stopped her along the way.
And it's so, when I look back, like, where are the doctors that were willing to say, hey, wait a second, this is really not good for your body? The main doctor that I was going to, she was known in town for helping trans people transition. And he had me going to, my blood levels were so bad. I had extremely high, I think it was the hematocrit levels, like my blood was too thick, in other words. And she was afraid I was in danger of a stroke. But instead of telling me this wasn't good for me, he had me going to the blood bank like every month or so to do a therapeutic withdrawal where they would just take a ton of blood out of me, trying to thin out the blood. Why didn't anybody ever say, like, this is just really not good for you, your body? And they don't, like, they'll tell you the side effects, but they don't really talk about it with you.
And then,
that could be said to just about any treatment or medical stuff you go to. They tell you about the side effects, but don't really go. Have you ever heard a commercial for a medicine and they scribble off all of those side effects at the ends? Yeah, everything's gonna have side effects in medicine. And they will talk with you about it. Believe me, they do. If it's a good doctor, whatever the treatment is, they're gonna say, here are the major side effects. Here's what to look for. My doctor tells me every time I see him. I also have to look for blood clots in my system because of the medication I'm on. I take estradiol and I take it through an injection form. And if my estradiol levels get way too high, I could be at risk for blood clots. So that's something they tell me to look out for. Of course, you're going to look out for side effects of the medications you're on. To be surprised about that, to be surprised there are side effects to the medication and medical treatments you're having is, it's a little hyperbolic, or it's a little unaware of how medicine works.
What are the other regrets? Parts of the transition process that were permanent and life-altering. Reminders of the decisions she made during her time of duress.
I feel like I lost 9 years of my life. These people really begin to live almost in seclusion. Like at first they're out and they're proud and they're happy, but the more that you live that life, the more you try to become that person, and yet you're reminded every single day that you're living a lie, you start withdrawing more and more, and you.
Who are you reminded by? I'm only reminded by society around me who is ignorant to what it means to be trans. When they make ignorant bills about trans people, make ignorant laws, say ignorant things on television about us, say ignorant things in the news, accuse us of ignorant crimes we do not do. That is a reminder. Yes, society is the issue there, not the people being targeted by portions of society. If trans people had normality within society and equality within society, there would be no harsh judgments by society. Because you're hetero and because you're cis doesn't give you extra rights. It doesn't diminish rights of those who are not hetero or cis. What else do they have to say?
Become less confident. And I remember when I was living in that lifestyle, at first I was so out and proud, but the longer I lived that lifestyle, I got to where I couldn't have normal conversations with people because all I could think about was, do they know? Do they believe me? And it began to torment me night and day.
Oh my God, that's social paranoia. Yes. And at times, depending on where I'm at in this country, like if I'm back home in Northampton, I walk around anywhere with not caring what anyone thinks about me because I know everybody there is, for the vast majority, very accepting. And I'm not going to be judged because I'm a trans person. But when I'm in places like Central Texas, I'm very aware of my surroundings. I'm very aware if I feel like I am not expressing feminine enough. I totally get that social paranoia. Yes, for sure. And it also, when you take away those societal prejudice and those societal hates and the societal anguish towards trans people, you get trans joy. You get joy being yourself when you can express yourself around people who accept you and affirm you. It's amazing how much the stress and paranoia go away, because that's where it comes from. Depending on your support system and depending on the social network you reside within. When someone's mean to you and doesn't want to accept you as a human because of who you are, it's not a good feeling. It causes social paranoia. So yeah, I totally get it. Social paranoia is real and it could be harmful. But the source of that combustion of fury is not inside. It is how you react to things pushed onto you. And that's what we need to change in society. We need to change the way we view the othered in society.
Fortunately, Larbeth's life has also been transformed. She recently got married and is now a wife. Sadly, though, one of the lasting effects of her previous surgeries is that she can no longer have children.
Now that I've gotten married, that has been a huge regret, and I've had so many tears over not being able to have a baby with my husband.
Despite the tragic elements of her story, the powerful detransition narrative, marriage, and redemptive experience is incredible. But her question about why no
Yeah. Not being able to reproduce when you want to reproduce, that's a major decision that many people have to make when they're doing certain surgeries for gender affirmation and to battle gender dysphoria. Yeah, there are certain surgeries that will take away your reproduction. So there are ways to mitigate that. There are ways to go around that. You can preserve if you want and have those means. You can make those kind of decisions. I actually made decisions that would affect my reproductive system years and years and years before I discovered I was trans. Years before that, I had a snip on myself. So those little vascular tubes. So yeah, that's a major decision, and there may be points in your life when you look back at a decision like that, a surgery like that, and go, wow, I wish I would have not done that. Well, for me, no. I was so happy I did that surgery. I'm so happy I did just about every surgery I've done. I've been very happy with. I mean, there's a shoulder surgery I'm not too thrilled about, but c'est la vie. Most of my facial feminization surgeries, oh, yes, awesome, love them. Breast augmentation, wonderful. Is laser hair removal surgery? I guess not. No, it's not really penetrating, but that's a great treatment. Yeah, what if you have laser hair removal and you're going, oh crap, I want to be hairy again? Kind of screwed, right? Yeah, so there's surgeries that are, once you make that decision, you're gonna go down that road of, I don't grow hair in my underarms. I have not shaved my underarms in like 5 months. I don't grow hair. I had procedures to get rid of my hair, and it's permanent. I can't change that. There's nothing I can do to get hair back in my arms. But I do not regret that surgery or that treatment one bit. Not one bit. Like I said, I've had multiple surgeries for many things in my life. I was an athlete most of my life. I hurt myself. I grew up in the desert exploring and jumping around and hanging out with a bunch of rough, rowdy boys all the time and hurting each other and hurting myself. And yeah, I have scars and I have surgeries from living my life. Not a single one that has to do with my gender dysphoria treatment is anything of regret. My rotator cuff, yeah, that one sucks. It didn't really work. I don't really regret it, but I'm not happy with it. I have a prosthetic in my face right here that got a bacterial infection, and they had to cut out part of my zygomatic bone and take away that prosthetic. I'm not happy about that surgery taking it all away, but I'm happy that I got rid of the infection and I didn't die. But not having that prosthetic bothers me so much. I wish I still had that prosthetic. I wish I can get another prosthetic put in there. It's not easy just to get surgeries as a trans person either. I mean, my face is asymmetrical. I need and want this surgery. But it's not that easy just to go get a surgery. Insurance companies aren't agreeing that that is a vital surgery. They say, oh well, you can just be lopsided in your face. No worries. So, yeah, I'm rambling on about surgeries. But surgeries can change you. For sure, surgeries can change you. Don't take the decision of having any surgery lightly. You're cutting open your body and you're doing things to your body. Yes, it's going to change things. So, okay, let's hear what else they have to say.
The doctor stood up throughout the process to tell her the truth is haunting. In reality, this curiosity extends well beyond medical professionals. We must also ask why so many parents, community members, and educators are also silent. Why have we allowed fear to overtake the saving of hearts, minds, and lives? Fortunately, not everyone has been so frozen with trepidation. I sat down with Jeremy Wright, a teacher in the Loudoun County Public School System in Loudoun County, Virginia, who has boldly spoken for truth.
All right, I think we'll go with that interview in our next episode, our next look at the Generation Indoctrination podcast. We'll stop there after that. Laura Beth, I think their name was. That interview with Laura Beth was actually kind of refreshing because they actually interviewed a person, not just a third party about a subject. So it was interesting, and you didn't hear a lot of bashing coming out of Laura Beth. They're just like, here's my story. Here's what happened to me. I have regrets. I changed positions in my life. I've changed things about my life, and I transitioned from one gender box to the other, and then 9 years later I transitioned into another box or back to the other box, right? Very interesting story. I'm going to look more into Laura Beth's story. It seems awesome. Seems interesting. To say that no one else should transition because Laura Beth had an experience that wasn't what she expected or wanted, no. But this one didn't make me very upset. I didn't feel outraged by many of the things they were saying. They were, okay, yeah, that's your story. Fair enough story. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up for today. So, I'm gonna leave you as I always do with this message. Love yourself, but more importantly, like yourself, and treat people the way they want to be treated. Bye-bye for now.